But why are we choosing heads or tails? Why do we choose the things that we choose? It's something that's fascinated me. And as much as I'm into mindset, as much as I'm into personal development, I'm also a father. And I try and at least have this conversation with my kids. My son's 10. He does breath work and meditates. We speak about mindset. We have these incredible conversations that I didn't get to have with anyone at that age. And these are some of the things that I talk to him. So as much as we know the neuroscience of the reticular activating system, what we call the perception, and we can say the fancy words, for my son, I call this the filters. The filters of the mind. There's a set of filters, a set of programs inside the mind, hence the expression mindset. And he understands that. Now, we all take in vast amounts of information every second through our 5 senses. As you come into the ICC tonight, you're seeing the architecture, you're seeing the ambient lighting, you're smelling perfume, aftershave, you're hearing different accents, you're seeing familiar faces, and we process that information. We all process it differently. And we process it differently because of these filters. Arguably, sometimes the filters get clogged up. Arguably, we're taking in so much information that the filters get clogged up. Now, the important thing about the filters is they release some of that information. We can only take it in chunks. We can't take it all in, so we release some of that information. And we release it in energy, and we call it energy in motion or an emotion. Again, I'm explaining it to you the way I explain it to my son. The filters release energy in motion, which becomes our emotion. You and I as adults call it our physiology. Now, your physiology is important. Our emotions are important. And I can see some of the guys in the room going, he better not look at me if he's talking about emotions. I'm not even going there. I'm not going there. I don't want to speak about emotions. But when we talk about human performance, emotion is exceptionally important. The reason it's so important is my role from a human behavior consultant is all behavior is as a result of the feeling that you're feeling in that moment. So each emotional state, anger, sadness, happiness, courage, all those unbelievable things, clarity, each of those emotional states has its own algorithm, has its own, I suppose, dozen actions or choices that you can make. So for an example, when you feel angry, your actions or choices are generally going to be that of overwhelm, frustration, resentment, anger, the same with positivity, the same with joy. Now, why does that matter? Because your choices, whether you make heads or tails, whether you choose to fill the gap and become a €100 million company, is going to be how you feel in the moment, in the present moment. All sports psychology, all performance comes back to presence. Being present in the moment. How do you feel? How are you thinking? How do you perform in that moment in time? It's something that has fascinated me massively. And as kids, our filters are clean. And as we progress into adulthood and we start to develop a few more grey hairs, our filters can most definitely get clogged up. But because the world is moving in such a fast space with the digital revolution, sometimes we forget to clean the filters. And sometimes we choose to ignore to clean the filters. And sometimes people would rather clean the filters of their Hoover or their car than the filters of the mind. So how do we clean the filters? Sometimes all we need is a bit of self-reflection. Again, it's something we choose to shy away from, but the more reflective you are, the more effective you are. And it's when we're carrying out that self-analysis, how am I performing? Not just in work, in my relationships, in my health, in all these aspects of my life that makes up human performance. One of the filters is your belief system. Your values, your attitude, your self-image, it's all there. This is the filters, this is the mindset. But this is the big one, because your beliefs determine your behavior. Again, as kids, we take in all this information and we believe everything we're told, because from the age of 1 to 7, we're in a totally subconscious state. Kids believe everything they're told, but they still have a sparkle in their eye and a spring in their step. And they're these incredible human beings of innovation that learned how to walk and speak a language and feed themselves and interact with the world. Their filters are clean. They believe that life is an adventure to be lived. But then as society kind of molds us as we grow, we're told that you're too big, you're too small, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not intelligent enough, you're not fast enough, you're not strong enough, and we start to believe it to be true. And then we reinforce those ideas and those beliefs in a self-fulfilling prophecy, and we start to point the finger this way and say, I'm not good enough, and I'm not big enough, and I'm not strong enough, and I'm not smart enough, and I can't do this. And it becomes our inner dialogue. And sometimes we need to clean the filters. Sometimes our beliefs hold us back. I remember paying a lot of money years ago before, I suppose, YouTube and that got big, and you could kind of delve into the world of personal development. Paid a lot of money to go to America to see a big personal development person speak on stage. And he got on stage, and the first thing he said was, I don't believe in self-development. And I remember scratching my head thinking, I have literally cleared my money bank to get here for a self-development event, and you're telling me you don't believe in it. I thought, I want a refund. And he said, I don't believe in self-development because the self is our potential, which is limitless. It's the soul, it's the essence, it's the spirit within every single person, and you cannot develop that. You cannot develop your limitless, perfect potential. You can only express it. And it's through that creativity and innovation and self-expression, that's what we're meant to do. But he says we tell ourselves these stories that I can't and I shouldn't and I mustn't. And what we do is we limit that perfection, we limit that potential. Hence the expression, self-limiting belief. And it really resonated with me. I remember then coming back to Ireland, and I went to see another guy from Galway actually stand on stage and talk about the same material. And I loved his authenticity. He did it in jeans and a t-shirt. He maintained his own accent, and it was the same material but done in his way. It was in Belfast. And I went back to the hotel that night, and I still have the piece of paper. I wrote down on the piece of paper that in 12 months' time, I set myself a target the way you have done tonight. I set myself a personal goal that in 12 months' time, I'm going to stand on stage and I want to inspire people with this message. I went to bed and got up the next morning and I crumpled it up and I threw it in the bin. Because my filters needed clean, because what I started telling myself, the narrative, the story was this. I'm not good enough, I don't have his following, I can't articulate it the way he does. What if I get judged? What if I get rejected? What if I get booed off stage? What if? Thankfully, I had a realization. Out of the 8 billion people worldwide, the only person on the planet that was telling me I couldn't and I shouldn't was me. It was just me. And so quite literally, and this is a true story, I realized that the belief I had of myself was one that society had told me. I had a former police officer and a powerlifter, and I'm covered in tattoos, and I can't stand on stage, and I shouldn't do this. And I come from a working class area. I live in a housing estate. I was brought up by a single mother with 4 kids, and I can't, and I shouldn't, and I wouldn't. And that's how the inner narrative went. And I realized that the only person in the world that told me that was me. And so I had to change that belief. And we can't change it. We change it through repetition. And quite literally, every day, in the morning, in the mirror, I had a self-image script. I was trying to rewrite my self-image of what I'm capable of, and I do have this potential, the same as everyone, the same as you, the same as me, the same as I. And I said in the mirror for 90 days that I am a public speaker. I do stand on stage all over the world. I do inspire people. And my goal was that in 12 months I would have did my first talk, but in 18 months I did over 100. It was the power of belief. Because I started behaving like a public speaker. I started contacting agencies. I started putting in proposals because I changed the belief. Now, the 3 letters in the word L-I-E, lie, we tell ourselves these stories and narratives that aren't true. Society tells us, but sometimes we need to reflect on that. The more reflective we are, the more effective we are. And our inner communication is very, very important. As much as you need to communicate and articulate with new clients, with colleagues, with leaders within the company, it's very, very important in terms of how you communicate with yourself.